What we found was that this orchard is unique in that it has so many different varieties of apples. There's 88 varieties of apples on this orchard. So we have the ability to have very unique flavor in our cider, where we're not just doing a mono variety of cider of apples to put in our cider, or 3 or 4 varieties. The ciders that you're tasting here have about 24 varieties of apples in each of them, as well as 6 additional varieties of crab apple that we stick into these. So yeah, it's very unique.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. Today we ventured out to Middlebury, Vermont, and joining me is Conor of Mountain Mac Cider Company.
Yeah.
Hi.
So yeah, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thank you very much for hosting us today. We appreciate anybody taking time out of their schedule to speak with us about brewery, cidery, meadery, vineyard, whatever we want to talk about, but it's all about supporting local. You're clearly very hyper-local, which is good. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
We've got some tasty beverages here to try. What are we starting with?
We're going to start with the original cider. This is the first thing I came out with, and it really sort of made my presence on the scene.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically for the first year, I didn't have anything else on the market besides the one cider. And yeah, it's a very dry cider. The background on it is, I started getting into cider, at an early age, and then just sort of forgot about it for a little bit while I was at college and trying to make a name for myself in the world and make my way. And then as I got into cider again and everything, it was like I couldn't find anything like it on the market. Like, you've got all these sweeter ciders that are out there, and I couldn't find anything that really fit what I remembered as a child, or as a younger, as a kid, growing up for ciders. So I wanted to make something like that, and I just started, in my kitchen and using a couple apples that we had in the on the farm, and started making it. And then I'd bring it into work, and some friends liked it, and so I said, well, maybe I should make a little more, and they kept asking me for it, so I made some more. And but I still had to wait a year until the apples came ripe again. So, so I made like 50 gallons the second year, and after that, it started to pick up steam, and I made like 250 gallons the following year, and was giving it out to friends. And I took some to a distributor, and it took off from there. They liked it and ordered a bunch more, and here I am basically. So
fantastic.
Yeah, let's give it a try. Toast. It's very dry.
Very neutral nose too, I find.
Yeah. It's very light, but
very
dry.
Light, refreshing.
Yeah.
For sure. It's not like overly carbonated. I find that some ciders can be.
Yeah.
It's very, very balanced.
So one of the things I was going for in this cider right from the beginning was I always liked a craft beer, but I always liked a light beer as well. So I couldn't drink a lot of craft beers, but I wanted to have that craft flavor, some real, intense notes to it and stuff. But at the same time, I didn't want something that was going to sit heavy in my stomach. I wanted something that I could drink on like a warm afternoon or something like that, or after a hard day's work, and really enjoy drinking and not feel heavy afterwards. Yeah. And that's what I was aiming for with this one. And Yeah, I mean, it's slow, but I do feel some people, it's a very small percentage, are trying to shift away, especially due to the pandemic, shift away from mass-produced to local. Yeah.
It should have always been a bigger number to me. And just adventuring out and discovering new cideries, breweries, meaderies, especially in Vermont, it's just so fun to do. You know, sports fans will travel, and from what I've seen, beer fans will travel too. So
exactly. That was one of the things that I did when I was in college with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. It was like we couldn't afford to go out on a big date or anything, so we would travel around Vermont and go to different breweries and just try all the samples and everything, and we really enjoyed it. And now I'm really happy to be part of that scene where we can do this and enjoy these.
Yeah. So you're Vermont born and bred?
No, I'm not Vermont born. She was born here in Vermont, and I was born in New Hampshire, raised there, came to college over here, met her, and here I stay.
So hop, skip, and a jump there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you're, I came from Florida.
No.
Why? Why would you go from sun to...
No, I grew up working on like vineyards and orchards in New Hampshire, and then both of my parents are in the forestry industry, and taught me about plants and trees and everything, and I really got into it. And then I went to school for engineering and became an engineer and a construction manager for about a decade, and realized I didn't really like that, working in an office, working in a cubicle, and working really long hours. And I said, I'd really like to get back to my roots, get back to, working with my hands and really getting out there and getting dirty and enjoying what I'm doing. And it was a slow progression. I mean, we bought a farm here in Vermont, and that was the first step in the plan, was being able to afford that farm in Vermont. And wasn't really sure what we were going to do, but it sort of blossomed. First I started, you saw the beer industry taking off in Vermont. I said, well, we could supply locally grown hops. And all of my hops plants died within like 2 months of trying to grow them. And I realized that wasn't going anywhere. So I tried a bunch of different things and finally settled on apples, because we had some apple trees growing in the backyard. They were already growing. And why try and fight nature? I mean, it's telling me that this is what grows really well here. Let's go with it. And so we started with the apples and then started growing all of the other flavors that we put into the cider. So I've got raspberry cider, blueberry cider. We've got cranberries that we get up the road from Cranberry Bob from Vermont.
Like you said, the ground was telling you what to do. The ground, nature told you this is what you're doing. Sorry.
Yeah,
You're not changing your mind.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. So on that note too, we have, and these are the last two that I know of still in existence. We'll have more next year, but it's called Dark Cider of the Moon.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. I did the artwork on this one and on the original one, and it's black raspberries. So black raspberries are not blackberries, they're not raspberries, they're somewhere of a hybrid in between, but they have a unique flavor, and they just aren't grown commercially. So myself and a bunch of friends, we went out and harvested almost 1,000 pounds of black raspberries to make this batch. And
that's a hell of a weekend.
Yeah, it took about 2 weeks. We went up and down the state following the season, and we ended up with almost 1,000 pounds of black raspberries. And here, I'll give you a pour on that one.
That'd be great.
I mean, it's got a nice color to it. It's not too dark, and it's just a light.
Oh yeah.
A light.
It's like a rosé color almost.
Yeah, it's very similar to the original, and just a light flavor of the black raspberry behind it. And give it a shot.
As you do.
Cheers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's like summer. 6%.
It's about 6.9.
Yeah, so I'm not crushing a bunch of these.
No.
A glass like this.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not like a softball drink, because I've noticed that too, is the sports I used to play. It's people were shifting from just beer to drinking a cider, having a local like wine and stuff like that.
Yes.
You don't just have to live up to the stereotype of like, we're playing a sport, we got to drink beer.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. No, this is easily our second most popular, right behind the original.
That's tasty.
For cider. Yeah. As soon as it came out, it came out in August. We'll have it again next August. I'm trying to do a really original cider. A really, no preservatives, no added flavors, or no additives to it at all for preservatives. It's just apples and whatever berry that we're using or whatever spice. So we're just trying to keep it really natural. So we use a wild fermentation. We found the wild yeast that we wanted to use and focused in on that one wild yeast, and we'll use it for the first portion of our fermentation, and then we finish it off with a laboratory yeast just to bring up the alcohol content and dry it out. And drying it out like that helps us with the preservative end. So we have the high alcohol content, the high acidity that a cider has, and between those two, we can stabilize it enough to put into cans and put on the shelf. So
it's Vermont as a state in general feels like just do everything as natural as we can. Everyone from Ben and Jerry's starting out to where it was, and most of the state works for Ben and Jerry's from what we've got. To mentioning like your product, Kramer and Kin, when we interviewed them as our first Vermont brewery, they were all about natural. They were going to start harvesting wild yeast, and so the Vermont attitude is very like nature driven.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
That's why I'm a huge fan of this state. It's one of my favorites, and some of the upstate New York stuff. So.
Yeah.
What got you into cider? Like what made you decide that Mountain Mac is
okay?
This is happening.
Yeah. So let's see. I worked on a couple orchards when I was growing up as a kid. I worked on the Wellington Orchard in New Hampshire and Leewood Orchard in New Hampshire, and enjoyed my experience working on the orchards. And it was kind of like a little secret thing that at the end of the season they'd give you a little bit of hard cider and say, go out in the orchard and have a good time. And not that I condone that, that's but it gave me a taste for what a good hard cider, a natural hard cider would taste like. When I realized that, I wanted to get out of the construction management scene and the working in an office and, working 60, 70 hours a week was just, it was stressful and it's hard for anybody to be able to do that. So I wanted to try and steer my career towards something that got me outdoors again. My parents were both being in the logging industry. I spent a lot of my youth growing up in the woods and then working on orchards. I was working outside and on the farm. And I wanted to steer myself in that direction. I wanted to go towards doing something like that. That's where I envisioned myself, long term. So it was about 2013, 2012, 2013. I got deployed at the end of 2012 and came back in 2013 from Afghanistan. And while I was over there, I gave it a lot of thought. What am I going to do with my life if I'm not going to be in the industry, not going to be doing construction anymore and engineering. And I wasn't exactly sure what that would be. I knew it would be farming in some avenue. And after I came back, I of course went back into construction and continued to put away a nest egg with my wife. And then we eventually saved up to where we could buy a farm here in Vermont. And discovered that there were some apple trees on the orchard, and after some experimentation and stuff, I realized that apples were the direction I was going in, and I already had some experience with trees. I knew what I was doing with trees. I knew how to graft already. I knew a lot about pruning and everything else to maintain these trees. So I started in that direction, and as I got further along and growing in size and the volume of cider that I would need, I realized I couldn't supply it all myself. So I was searching around for first people to help me out pressing the apples because I couldn't keep up on a tiny little press in my kitchen. I was pressing, a couple 100 gallons in my kitchen and that just wasn't cutting it. So I bought a nice little press and I bought some apples in from Shelburne Orchards, and then I bought some more apples from Allen Home Orchard up in the islands, and I was blending those with apples that we were bringing off of our property. And then I also found a couple other orchards that were old heritage variety apples that had been forgotten about for years. I've got 3 orchards now here in Vermont that are just proprietary heritage variety apples. I can't tell you where they're at. So
you'll have to kill us. I'm being former military. I gotta watch it.
Oh no. So we forage those apples and bring those in. We harvest those and bring those in and blend those with more apples that we get from other orchards. Some stuff that if we were to do just those apples, they'd be too intense. The flavor that you get from that cider would just be overbearing and too tannic. And so what I do is I blend them with your Macintosh and your Cortlands and your Empires, blend those together, and it sort of mellows it out a little bit, but still leaves enough of that flavor where it gives it a unique taste. So we use, so I was saying about pressing the apples. I was having a lot of trouble pressing that many apples. So I contracted out to this orchard. The previous owner of Happy Valley Orchard was happy enough to help us press those apples. And then I got into the season and I got some more orders from our distributor, and he says, hey, we'd like to get some more cider. Can you get some more apples? And I said, I don't know if I can get more apples. I'll try. So I talked to the owner here of the orchard, and I said, I know you got some contacts. Can you set me up with those contacts and see if we can get some apples in? And he said, well, I can help you out this year, but how about I do you one better, and next year would you think about buying the orchard? Well, yeah, sure. So we ended up buying the orchard, and that's where we're heading now. And after some serious consideration, I mean, I don't just say, would you consider buying the orchard? Sure. Yeah. I did some research and looked into it, and what is this orchard going to offer me, and what is the benefits of it? And what we found was that this orchard is unique in that it has so many different varieties of apples. There's 88 varieties of apples on this orchard. So we have the ability to have a very unique flavor in our cider, where we're not just doing a mono variety of cider of apples to put in our cider, or 3 or 4 varieties. The ciders that you're tasting here have about 24 varieties of apples in each of them, as well as 6 additional varieties of crab apple that we stick into these. So yeah, it's very unique.
So you're former military.
Yes.
So, I can't really say thank you for your service since I'm Canadian, but I understand you're still very involved in the military veterans community stuff. What kind of stuff you do there?
So I'm in the civil engineering group there at the Vermont Vermont Fighter Wing. So I'm in the Air National Guard, and I run my own little flight. I've got the NCOIC, which is the NCO in charge. Train my airmen to know about civil engineering, to be able to use it out in the field. We do runway repair. We also work on contracts and managing the construction on bases. So it's a lot of training, a lot of camaraderie, and it's been a really great opportunity for me growing up here in Vermont and going to school here in Vermont. It's helped out pay for college, and it's helped out with just having a good base that's behind me, a good group of friends that I can always rely on, that are there, one weekend a month that I can just, hang out with the guys and chill, and we're all over the state. There's people that I know in just about every town in Vermont, and I really enjoyed it. It's been a great opportunity for me. So yeah.
Same thing. 14th Star in St. Albans.
Yes.
Military run.
Yep.
You could see, like, when we were interviewing, their screen is like, okay, we're doing Heroes for Hire this month, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, and it seems a lot of companies like yourself, local cider producers, mead, craft beer, is all about the community is important to us, so let's give back to the community.
Yes, exactly. And that's something we want to do here. I mean, we're still in our very first year of running Happy Valley Orchard and our first year of being out on the market with our ciders. And we'd really like to invite veterans and other military members to come to the orchard and, whatever you want to do. If you want to learn how to prune trees, if you want to learn how to do some grafting, if you just want to sit out by the campfire in the orchard and enjoy a cider, we just want to be open to the veterans and to everyone as well to just come on out and enjoy it. And we want to make this like a hub for people to enjoy. So being part of the community, I know Happy Valley has been a part of the Middlebury community for a long time, and we just want to keep that going as well. So, yeah.
So I'm sure, Middlebury, Shelburne, Burlington, you're constantly getting Canadians coming down and being like, let's do this and buy stuff and bring it back. So I joked around at Conor McManus, like, it must be nice hearing that weird Quebec accent come back once in a while. Like, you have no idea.
We hear so many accents coming through here. We have our store up there in front, and we get a good group of people that come through every spring or every fall.
Yeah.
And then we have the students that come through from Middlebury College, and you've got people from all over the world that are coming in from the college, and then we have people that are from all over the East Coast that are coming in just for the tourism and enjoying our ciders and our apples and the pies that we make, and the donuts, of course, are fabulous. So
I saw that coming up. I'm like, ooh, cider donuts. I've never had one of those before.
Those are delicious.
What I usually ask, but you seem to have already answered, is your primary cider would be like getting that craft beer drinker or somebody who's not really into cider. It seems like the primary hard cider is the one that you would introduce people to.
That's probably the one I would introduce people to, yes. I usually try and warn everybody when they're trying our cider for the first time that it's not a sweet cider. So if you're thinking of an Angry Orchard or a Strongbow or something like that, this is totally different. It's very, very dry. It's more like a wine than it is a cider, or than sweet cider.
Apples themselves are generally like naturally a drying fruit. So you should... To me, it's when you're drinking the mass-produced ciders, there's going to be additives in them. You mentioned like 100% natural, so that's the big thing.
Exactly. So doing that 100% natural, not adding sugars to it, not adding preservatives, we can't make it sweet. So we're drying it right out, and you're just getting that final, the notes of the the cider and the notes of the whatever berry that we put in or any other spice that we put in.
Let's give another one a try here.
Sure. So this one is called Harvest, and it's not just a fall harvest or anything like that. It's we make it in the fall, but it's intended to be served year round, and it's just really enjoyable. We use cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, and just a hint of habanero.
I got a few friends who probably gonna love this. So when you get it to them,
I'm not big on
that sweet heat of the habanero. I'm sure.
So,
we'll find out.
So I'm not really big on super hot things. So I just did a slight note. I wanted to follow up on the back end. So after you've tasted the cinnamon, the nutmeg, and the cardamom, it feels a little warming. After it's like after you've had a shot of whiskey or something like that, you get that warm feeling in your cheeks. It's the same idea.
Toast. Just the cinnamon and nutmeg are like perfectly balancing on my palate.
Right.
And there's that little bit of heat. It's that right heat too, because I'm I'm a wuss when it comes to really hot stuff.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I'll start sweating. I get the hiccups. I'm awful with it.
Yeah, me, it's like buffalo hot sauce. And that's
Yeah, that's tops for me too. Anything hotter than Tabasco is brutal.
No, it's incredibly well balanced. I mean, this is like, it almost feels, I don't know how it'd be like to warm it up, because I know I've been to like a sugar shack and they warmed up the ciders. I don't know how that would react with the chemical creation that you've created here.
For the most part, I serve most of my ciders very cold.
Yeah.
It's just personal preference, but I would imagine it would taste just as good warmed up as well. I certainly enjoy it sitting by the fireplace and just on a cold February afternoon after some shoveling or something like that. Yeah, I really enjoy it then. Yep.
Yeah, and we're almost in February, so it's
exactly.
It's there. We're getting the butt end of the winter, as I call it. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed, we're pretty cold in here.
Yeah.
So
I usually don't have to wear a hoodie when I'm doing interviews.
Yep.
So.
And as you know, I'm doing all my fermentation back here. So that's part of my fermentation process, is that we press all of our cider in the fall, and then we keep it in a chilled space and ferment very slowly for months. So
almost like a lager when it comes to beer. You need to keep the temperature control.
Yep. We have less control over the temperature. As you can see, everything's in plastic, so we don't control it at that route. So the way I learned how to make a hard cider was basically in a barn. So we were bringing the cider in, and what we had left over from the sweet cider, we'd put into barrels and ferment over the winter. And you don't have any control in the barn. There's no insulation or anything like that. There's no heating system. So we wouldn't necessarily control any temperature. And that's the one thing that I had to do here as well. So when I first started moving from like 250 gallons to 500 gallons and slowly moving my way up, in the amount that I produced each year, I went from the kitchen basically to the backyard.
Okay.
and I built a small barn in the backyard. Basically, I was kicked out of the kitchen. It was just too much. It was a hot, sticky mess, and my wife said, "No more."
I'm sure the odor too.
Said you need to get out of the kitchen and start doing something different. And so I built this barn, and it was a fast construction. I got some help from the guys in the military, from the guard guys. They all came over and helped me out. We broke ground on September 14th, 2019.
Okay.
And then we were pressing in the building by October 1st. So it was.
And then it's like, and then March 2020 hits.
Yep, exactly. And so I mean, building that barn in that amount of time, and then pressing in there, and then starting the fermentation, that's when I realized that this non-control of my fermentation temperature was key to what I was producing. So it goes through like a freeze cycle and stuff that really gives it a unique flavor to it. So
very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Mountain Mac, it's a pretty unique name. Where does that come from? Why Mountain Mac and not since you moved to Happy Valley Orchard, just name it Happy Valley Cider?
It's
I'm sure that exists somewhere. So.
So Mountain Mac, in the military, Mac was a nickname, and I went to a military college, and Mac was a nickname there as well. I also joined a mountain rescue team, and ended up while I was on the rescue team that Mountain Mac became my nickname, and it just sort of stuck. I kept it as like an email address for a long time, and it just sort of stuck around with me. And then when I was looking for a name to call our cidery, or our cider company, I said, Mountain Mac. That fits. Why not Mountain Mac? So it's got double meanings. Macintosh apples, Mac. You think of apples, and then Mountain Mac was where it came in. So
Green Mountain State.
Yes, exactly. So so it seemed to fit, and liked
awesome.
it and held on. So
you got another one.
So we started coming up with some different ideas, and one of them is we have this on the farm up at our house. We have this really old lilac bush. The trunk on it is huge. I can only imagine it's been there since the house was built. And I pull lilac flowers off there, and we put them into our cider this past year as an experimentation, and it came out phenomenal. So I wanted to. It hasn't come on the market yet, and I just wanted to
We get treated.
You guys are the first to try it. Nobody besides myself has tried it yet, and I really enjoyed it. And it's kind of like a wine. It's not sparkling. You know, it doesn't have any carbonation to it. But yeah, we just wanted to.
Beautiful nose.
And you can smell a little bit of the lilac on the nose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not overpowering.
No, it's not overpowering. I mean, we used a lot of lilac in there, but you only get as much as you put in. So.
Yeah, a lot like it's got like that wine tartness to it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's lilac right after.
So yeah, we were looking to do like a floral line. So we'll have rose and hibiscus coming that we don't have ready yet. So I couldn't have those for you today. But the lilac was one of them, and then apple blossom is the other one that we did for the floral ciders.
I mean, I can taste the passion. Like I can taste that. Like this is where you belong. And you said like you bought a farm. No matter what you tried to grow, just apples.
Yeah,
and then
it just seemed to be
only
apples.
this happened.
Yep.
Like Mother Nature, or however you want to see it, is nature's like no, this is happening, dude. Sorry. Like
Exactly.
Get out of the office, start grabbing the apples.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like as soon as I was able to not necessarily replace my income, but make enough money to survive on where I didn't need to be doing engineering or construction management. I said, well, this is now the time that I need to make the transition over and really put my eggs in this basket and keep rolling with it. So, yeah.
So as I mentioned ourselves, we're from out of town. I Googled everything in the area, but somebody doesn't Google something, they discover you.
Yep.
Friends in the area that you say, like, go check out this restaurant, they have our ciders, or go check out, we mentioned, Golden Rule.
Yes.
Other friends in the area that people like ourselves who like experimenting when it comes to craft beverages should definitely try.
Yeah, the Golden Rule is definitely a good one here in Middlebury. They've really impressed me. Alex Apfel is the owner and the brewer, and I hate to say I've never been a big fan of meads, but I've been across the country and around the world, and I've tried meads everywhere, and his mead is phenomenal. If I'm going for a mead, that's where I'm going to go. Also, another great mead is Groenfell Meadery. They're probably the biggest, if not in the United States, in the world, and they produce a lot of great products. They're always experimenting and trying new stuff. They've been in the industry making it for a long time, and they've really helped take my company from small backyard producer to showing me the ropes on the bigger scale and helping me grow to the next level. So yeah, when I was looking to move from like 3,000 gallons to like 2,000 gallons a month, I couldn't do that in my backyard. There was no way that was happening in my backyard. So they brought me in under their wing and showed me the ropes, and I worked with them for about 2 years as I was scaling up. And they never deterred me from anything. They pointed me in the right direction. Anytime I had questions or anything, they were very, very helpful in showing me different ways to do things. And I wouldn't be here without them. So definitely two great places to try out, as well as 14th Star. They make a great product. Fellow veteran owned. He and I went to college together. Gagne. Very, very good beers that they make. Probably one of my most enjoyed beers. So,
and then those who are looking for like a beer or a meal in the Middlebury area.
Well, there's Mr. Ups I go to a lot. Also go to Rosie's a lot, and Fire and Ice a lot. So
okay.
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm working in the orchard and working long hours, during the season, I just don't have time to go home and make my own meal. And usually it's both myself and my wife working in the orchard, so we don't have time to make stuff for ourselves, and we'll stop over at one of those places. Also, Route 7 sandwiches,
okay.
It's right around the corner,
yeah.
And we hit those up. And then right here at Happy Valley, we have our own store where we sell products there as well. Donuts, pies, phenomenal. Sweet cider, your regular sweet ciders, absolutely phenomenal there. So really enjoyable.
Awesome.
Yep.
Love hearing it. Yeah, it sounds like almost friendly competition with, mead and cider are two completely different things, but the same thing at the end of the day. It's still craft beverage. So
yeah.
To me, it's friendly competition you guys have.
Oh yeah,
I want to see
absolutely.
you succeed, but I also need to succeed.
Exactly. Like Golden Rule and I, we communicate on a regular basis about what we're doing, and how can how can what I'm doing help you out? Would you like to come over to the orchard and do something on the day that we're doing, working with our bees out here in the orchard, or would you like to come over and, we're working on this new experimentation. Do you want to be a part of this too? And, we put out a black raspberry cider. They put out a black raspberry mead. We did apple blossom, which is the next one I was going to have you try. Yeah, we asked them to come over and help us out when we were picking apple blossoms, because picking apple blossoms is you'd think that it'd go pretty quick because there's so many of them, but absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You never think it's as quick as it is,
No. Oh, and another person I wanted to throw a shout out to was his name's Kevin Ruel. He's a local Vermont artist, and he does a lot of posters and stuff like that. But he did our harvest cider artwork, and he's helped us out with the vectoring of our other artwork and making the color for it and everything. So pretty much everything that we have, he's worked with me on it and gone along. And it's been a lot of back and forth work, but phenomenal artwork that he's helped us out with. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And like you said, another local guy. It's not like you're going
Exactly.
on Fiverr and, hey, design this for me. So the apple with the axes, have you thought about having an axe throwing range at some point, maybe next summer? Or
Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of I drew that up myself, and it was kind of going back to my roots of my parents both being foresters, that I wanted to include something from both of them in there. So I put both the axes in there to do that as well. So yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's a neat little logo. It definitely stands out. So.
Yeah. Thanks.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Let's try that next one.
Sure. Yeah, apple blossom was the next one I wanted to let you try. And gosh, I started last spring. I went out there and I was harvesting our apple blossoms, and I was lucky to find a local orchard that was letting go of one of the blocks of apples that they were growing. They just, it wasn't an apple that was selling well on the market, so they were letting go of about 50 acres of these apple trees, and
It's quite the amount.
yeah, quite the amount. So they said, yeah, we're not going to be spreading. Oh no, it broke. Oh no. So they said, we're not going to be letting go of the, or we're not going to be spraying these apples at all. And I said, well, if you're not going to be spraying those apples, can I use those apple blossoms? They said, yeah, go pick as many as you want. So I went out there with a couple milk jugs to start harvesting the apple blossoms, and about 2 hours in, the bottom of the gallon jug was only about that deep, and I said I need to get some help with this, some assistance. So we ended up getting about 13 gallons that we poured into 50 gallons worth of cider.
Awesome.
And yeah,
A toast. Yeah, again, I find your products have a very neutral nose, which is nice. There's nothing like pungent, overpowering.
Right.
And so that immediately triggers my palate into what I should be expecting when I'm drinking it. So.
right. Yeah. No, with that, I've always found some of the beers and stuff as I've traveled around the world and around the country. You'll get say a peach beer or something else, raspberry beer, and it's just, where's the beer? You get a lot of flavor, but where's the beer to it, or some of the other flavors as well? And I said, I just want something that it's cider, it's cider, but at the same time you can tell that there's something else to it, and just enough so it's there. Yep.
Clearly you're at running at 200%, I'm assuming, most of the time here.
Yeah, pretty much.
But let's say some time opens up and you could take kind of a cider or booze-based vacation you've never taken before. Where do you think you're going?
Probably going to France, Belgium, Germany, hitting the Rhine Valley, something like that, to see the different things there. I'd like to get up into Finland, Norway, Sweden as well, especially for the apples in those regions, and try those out. That's see what is in the European area.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been over to those areas and I've tried the apples there before and tried the ciders there before, but now that I'm so immersed in it, I'd be going over there with a different lens.
Yeah.
So,
because I understand Germany has fairly large American military present base there, so I'm guessing just for the military, almost everybody we've spoken with who has a former U.S. military background has been in Germany at some point.
Yes. You go through there on many reasons. It's a very large presence that we have there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, plus you were in Afghanistan too, so it's there and then down pretty
exactly,
much. So
exactly.
that makes the most sense.
Yep, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Amazing. Now, I mean, your ciders are absolutely fantastic and mind blowing. I'm very very happy I reached out to you, and I'm very happy you actually reached back and spoke with us.
Thank you very much.
And you're willing to do this today.
Absolutely.
So you brought me out some crackers and some cheese. So clearly, cider goes with food.
It does.
What kind of recommendations do you make?
Obviously, crackers and cheese go very well with ciders. Basically, anything that goes well with the wines goes well with the cheese, or goes well with our ciders. When I'm looking for a good food pairing, I'm going for some of your white meats. Your pork goes very well with a cider. I mean, it just makes sense. You have your apple flavored bacon and such. So those go together very well. Also, I do chickens and fish often go together very well with ciders. But I really do enjoy a good cut of steak with my ciders as well. So I mean, it goes with a lot of different things. It's got a lot of unique notes. It's not like a white wine or something, even though it appears to be. I've noticed it pairs well with a lot of things. Even just salad on a hot summer day with a cider, and it goes very well.
Well, we even noticed coming up on the 7th, there was like a smokehouse with a place that did aged cheese.
There's a couple of those, I believe. Yeah, there's a few of them.
This is, I'm assuming, Vermont cheddar?
It is.
Okay,
Yep. So that was the 3-year cheddar from Cabot that I put on there.
Yeah, nothing quite like an aged cheese. It's finding it sometimes, and you're like, what do you mean you want old cheese? I'm like, trust me, it works.
Yeah. And I've noticed that with our ciders, like I've got ciders, the first ones I made, I of course held on to a bunch of them and down in the root cellar. And we've got stuff from 2017 and 2018 that I was making before it went on the market. And I remember what it tasted like back when I first made it, and now, 5-6 years later, it tastes even better, and it's amazing that just aging it can do something to it. And,
because I do find with cider too, it is a big misnomer that cider is related. No, cider's for everybody.
Yes,
if you're over legal drinking age of wherever you live. So just drink a cider, have some cheese, go to a local steakhouse or smokehouse, and just you can enjoy a local craft beverage wherever you are. Don't always go to the mass-produced guys. There's no reason for that anymore.
Right.
Especially now with there being so many producers. I mean, there's at least 30, 40 cideries in the state of Vermont, I'm figuring?
There's quite a few. There is quite a few. There's more coming up every year.
Yeah.
There's been a couple that I hadn't heard of before. I know Eden Cider is a great cider that's been around for a while. Shaxbury Cider's been around for a while. Citizen Cider's been around for a while as well. And then, Windfall Orchard is right on the other side of town, and I know they're coming out with a nice cider that is phenomenal. We've got a lot of great little cideries that are popping up all over the place, and everybody's got something that's a little bit unique, a new twist on it. And there's so many varieties of apples out here. I mean, I mentioned earlier that we've got 88 varieties of apples here on this orchard that we use. There's 24 of those varieties here in the cider. And additionally, we have foraged apples that we put into our ciders as well to give it those unique flavors. We're always trying out different blends of apples. It's always amazed me how many different varieties of apples there are. I mean, you've got Granny Smith that'll make your mouth pucker, and then you've got Macintosh that's a good eating apple, and then you've got Golden Delicious, which is by far my favorite pie apple, and Honey Crisp is a great sweet apple that you can really use to sweeten up your ciders and everything as well. So there's just so many varieties out there, and then you can throw in crab apples as well. I mean, those will really make your mouth pucker. So there's so many things that you can do with the different varieties of apples, then so many unique avenues you can go with them. So even though we've got so many small cideries out there, there's really not a whole lot of overlap as far as flavor goes. So each one of them has their own unique blend to it. So
well, right now we're out of season, but for those who are looking to come to Mountain Mac and buy some ciders, cider donuts, etc., what time frame is your season for having customers?
So our season, we're going to be opening up really early this year. We actually just planted, we leased another property next to us, which is 4 acres. We planted 2 acres of strawberries. We plan on doing a strawberry festival in the spring, probably starting, strawberries start in June. We'll be aiming for the June timeframe to do those strawberries. But we also leased another orchard, which is stone fruit. So plums, peaches, apricots, nectarines, all of those we'll be getting from there and selling at our farm stand, but we'll also be using those in our ciders and blending those together in our ciders. So we're going to be opening in probably the 1st of June, and we're just going to continue straight through. But we'll also be having a bunch of events. So in April, we're looking at doing a Easter keg hunt. So for that weekend, for the Easter weekend, we'll do an Easter keg hunt and then an Easter egg hunt, keeping them separate, of course, one for families and one for the Mountain Max cider side of things. And we're looking to invite people out to that and start reaching out to the community as well and doing more community events here. So yeah, we would like to open up for a short period in April, and then we'll open up again for the season starting in June, and then we're going to carry that right through till November. And following in 2024, we're looking to break ground on our year-round facility. Ooh. So we're looking to do that probably January of 2024, and then we'll be open year-round here. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And for those looking for those online and on social media, where can people find the website and you guys on social media?
Yep. So we're on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, of course. You can find out most of the news on Facebook, what events are happening. We have music events here, comedy events here throughout the season. You'll find all of that on Facebook. We're working on our website. It's still under construction. That'll be up. But what we're looking to do is open that up to sales in New York and across New England through the website, as well as all of our swag and stuff like that, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and hats, and all of that good stuff, as well as our different varieties of cider. But we'll also have on there, we'll have a private stock club. So you'll get the first opportunity to try out all of our different ciders before they come out on the market. You'll get the higher end varieties of ciders that we do, like our wine ends as well, that you'll have access to purchasing, that we do in small batches. So like our apple blossom, because it's so hard to pick apple blossoms, we only do about 50 gallons a year, and that doesn't equate to a whole lot of cider, a whole lot of bottles of cider. So we're putting that out to our big followers and people that are in our club. So yeah, we'll be opening up that on our website. So.
And those look for the cans, I'm assuming.
Yes, we're
Winooski Beverage Center.
Winooski Beverage Center. You can find them in. We're in over 200 stores in Vermont and about 100 restaurants in Vermont.
Okay.
So you can find us in Stowe, of course. You can find us in Waterbury, of course. Here in Middlebury, you can find us all over the place. And we're all the way down to Bennington and all the way up to Swanton. And,
amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like you got big plans for the future, which is great. I usually ask what's next, but you already told us, so there's no real need to that.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much once again for
hosting us.
Thank
you very much for
really
coming out.
Appreciate this. As for us, allbeerinside.com is the website, @allbeerinside on all social media. And as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.